Hi, so the second semi-final in men's section of the French Open is over, and now we know it's Yannick Sinner, the undisputed world number one and the current king of tennis, who is going to challenge the defending champion and supremely talented Carlos Alcaraz of Spain in Sunday's big final for the French Open title. Let's talk a little about the second semi-final between Sinner, the undisputed world number one and the king, versus arguably the greatest ever to have played tennis, the man with the maximum number of Grand Slam trophies, that is Novak Djokovic of Serbia. The game was a fantastic exhibition of masterclass in tennis from Sinner. What ground strokes, what precision volleys, drop shots, retrieval, court coverage, along with mental toughness and calmness and tennis and game sense. That's all he had, and nobody could come close, not even Djokovic yesterday. He just did a Djokovic of Novak yesterday to win it in three straight sets, 6-4, 7-5, 7-6, and gave no chance to Djokovic, who by the way gave his all, his sweat, his tears, his blood. He also called for a injury timeout, trying to maybe rattle a little Sinner, try to find out his new exhausting energy, but nothing could work for him, and he had to give up at the end of three straight sets and bow out. And now it once again reconfirmed and reinforced Sinner's dominance over Djokovic in the last 2 years. And if you want to understand such overwhelming dominance of Sinner over a legend like Djokovic, who is known to have come back from hopeless situations against the biggest of the players, and if you want to understand why Sinner has such special control and a reign over him, we have to go back a little in time to 2023 November. Till then, Djokovic was still that legend and the guy with that aura, and Sinner was a great player, but he was still a intern kind of a training kind of a thing compared to the aura of Djokovic, and it always looked Djokovic would have the last laugh. During that ATP Tour final in between 12th to 19th of November in the league stage, somehow Sinner found a way to beat Djokovic, and he won a tough three-setter, 7-5, 6-7, 7-6, and it looked that perhaps at the end finally he has managed to make a dent in Djokovic's mental confidence and mental stillness, and maybe now Djokovic would be feeling a little rattled. But barely a few days later, they both met in the final of that same ATP Tour finals, where Djokovic destroyed Sinner 6-3, 6-3 to give a subtle message that when it comes to the big trophies and the big matches, the match days, he is the king, he is the teacher, and Sinner was still a pupil, he was still an intern, who had a long way to go. So it looked Djokovic had once again managed to establish that mental toughness and mental control and some sort of a strangulation over Sinner, which would last for a few more months, if not years. But then, less than a week's time, Serbia played Croatia in the semi-final of Davis Cup, and in one day on 25th of November, everything changed. The world order was rewritten thanks to Sinner doing something which nobody had done till then. He came back from love 40 down with three consecutive match points to win against Djokovic that singles match 6-2, 2-6, 7-5. We all know Djokovic is the guy who has the knack of winning with love 40 down and match points down, even championship points down, to win against the legends. Ask Roger Federer from 2019 Wimbledon Championship final, he will vouch for it. But then on that day, in that November 25th night in the Davis Cup semi-final in Malaga, everything changed. It's Djokovic who choked, who fumbled, who folded, and Sinner won, and with that I think the whole thing changed in the world order, and that impact changed, that psychological strangulation began to change its course and went into Djokovic's side, because after a couple of hours again Sinner came back to beat Djokovic, this time in the doubles match, to reach the final, and then went on to help Italy to win that Davis Cup tie and then in 2023, and then they again defended in 2024. But then that day, that order was established that now perhaps Sinner has become the master and Djokovic has now lost that aura, lost that touch, lost that mental toughness, at least against Sinner. From that day till yesterday, second set, Sinner had 45 games unbeaten trend against Djokovic, where forget getting broken. Djokovic had failed to create a breakpoint in 45 consecutive games of Sinner. And just imagine, Djokovic is undoubtedly the greatest ever returner of serve in tennis, and he couldn't create a single breakpoint on Sinner's serve for 45 consecutive games till the time it was 4-5 in the second set, and then Djokovic finally managed to create a breakpoint when Sinner was serving for the second set, and he not only created the breakpoints, he broke him, but then Sinner was Sinner. He broke back Djokovic and then held serve to win it 7-5, and then went on to win it, the third set 7-6 to win it 6-4, 7-5, 7-6 yesterday. So that was the time only when finally that record was broken. It is an unbelievable record, especially when you talk about the legend like Djokovic. So that's the kind of strangulation Sinner has created in Djokovic. That's the kind of dominance he has created, and that has given him such overwhelming dominance and control over Djokovic in the last 2 years. And yesterday was just an extension of that strangulation and dominance. So no wonder, it was no surprising or shocking that he won it so convincingly against Djokovic and is through to the final. A great final is awaited. Let's hope it turns out to be all-time great and classic. Let the best man win on Sunday. Thank you.